the flow.
All right, today is September the 3rd. It is Tuesday, a couple hours into the New York session. Let's do the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. All right, so let's go ahead and get started off with the macro outlook. Okay, so let's keep it short and sweet. The main takeaway that I want to express on the higher time frame or the macro is going to be that there's absolutely zero reason to be risk on. From a positioning standpoint, I've been risk off for a while now, patiently waiting for a reason to go risk on, and every attempt that we've had over the past couple of months to do that transition has failed. Seasonality has become very much flavor of the month, and I think that we're probably at the beginning of a bit of a paradigm shift with how the seasonal aspects play out. So moving forward, I would expect there to be a little bit of a break from what we've expected in the past. Yeah, the first and main point from macro that I want to make is that I want to be bullish. Like, I want nothing more than a reason to be net long again. That's, from a stat standpoint, that's what has done well for me over the years is, being long in the risk on stages and trying to protect myself when we're not. So as it stands, I want nothing more than a reason to be bullish. However, there's absolutely zero reason to put that risk on. I will obviously cover that in detail when we get further on in the video. So I still do think that there's a realm where we end up bullish later in the year, but most likely what's going to need to happen for that is some sort of fuckery before then, right? So structure is extremely bearish right now, and it seems like we're probably going to trade down and attack the lows. So I'm going to cover the levels in detail when we get to there, but as far as the macro goes, the only real level that you want to worry about on the highest of time frames is going to be 60K. 60K is the level that needs to get reclaimed. There's quite a large amount of overlaps of levels in that area, so that's the main area to focus on, and you can really keep it simple. As long as we're below 60K, you should be leaning risk off. As long as we're below 60K, there's going to be no risk appetite for beta, which means that you want to be steering clear of altcoins, generally speaking. Closing thoughts on higher time frame are essentially what I just said, right? Reclaim 60K. If we reclaim 60K, all of a sudden things won't look so bad. Always keep in mind that structure is very bearish right now, so there's really no reason to try to front run any sort of buying and get long, right? But always keep in mind that this is probably the most reflexive market that exists, and all it will take is one up candle, right, where one candle that goes up $4,000 on the daily or something like that, and then everybody will flip back to being optimistic and bullish again, right? So take a note of sentiment. I think that we're pretty close to the lows on sentiment right now, and that's probably going to converge with price as price probably trades down a little bit would be my expectation. If you're interested in gaining access to the spaghetti template and learning how to properly utilize it, you should consider joining the Paragon group. Medium time frame talk. When we look at medium time frame, it looks pretty fucking terrible too, right? Like we had talked about like last week, the idea of how we expected to trade around 60K, or maybe this was 2 weeks ago because I guess we rejected at the beginning of last week from here. So this is a key area where we really wanted to see that reclaim. If we reclaim 60K or 65K, then the structure was going to look really great. Flows were really bearish, right? A lot of absorption up here and a lot of spot being unwound. So things look pretty bad right now across the board. Main things to point out are going to be level reclaim, right? So we talked about the 60Ks. That's roughly going to overlap with the composite structure low at 60.6. So, essentially this 65K rejection and then this local rejection that we just got this weekend, it's looking pretty bad, right? So the only kind of saving grace could be 55K right now, right? So the anchored VWAP that we've talked about a couple of times around 55K, overlapping with this demand block and roughly with the composite structuring. This is kind of the final line in the sand area where I think we could set in a local low. Unfortunately, this would probably just amount to a dead cat bounce, us trading back up here and then rejecting down lower again. But this could be potential bottoming zone. So definitely keep an eye on any interactions over there. To be clear, I'm not really super interested in directionally shorting this, at least on a swing basis. Intraday, I'm obviously favoring shorts for that, but we'll cover that later in the video. Okay, so that's pretty much it, right? We've got all these levels that need to be reclaimed. All the the local swing point anchored VWAPs are pretty terrible right now. If we anchor it from 65K top, that's obviously going to be resistance. So just further confluence that we really need to see this area get attacked and successfully reclaimed, and the opposite of the kind of flows that we saw here, right? We We want to see a slow grind up like we saw, but we want to see real spot follow through and demand coming in if we drive up and not just fizzle out and get soaked. Essentially just watching breakout longers, you know, tie the noose around their own necks. That's pretty much it for medium time frame, you know, across the board. You know, focus on 55K. You know, we had the 60K and the 65K rejections. Those were really important. You know, sentiment really probably can't get too much worse from the crypto natives. So definitely making a note around that. Yeah, and I mean, like I said on the macro out, you know, bit, I really think that we're probably going to see another kind of climax in selling here in the not so distant future, which will hopefully set us up for our September lows so that we can get bullish going into Q4. Because I still, you know, I'm still clinging to that thesis. I know that it's very much consensus, which is why I think in the future the seasonality argument won't really hold up the way it has the past couple years in a row now. So yeah, that's pretty much it, right? Watch list. So altcoin talk really quickly, right? So there's nothing interesting with altcoins, even though things that have been good are looking terrible right now. So the only things that have any signs of life on them, like even Solana looks really bad right now. Tron and BNB are the only thing that have really any sign of life on them. Pretty much everything else is absolutely cooked right now. So I don't really have too much of an interest in trading these things. The only thing I would say is that, you know, if I was to see some sort of upswing in Bitcoin that I thought was an illiquid kind of fart-esque move, then I might short some shitcoins if that was the case. I would stick to the higher market cap things that I thought would have decent liquidity, but I think that argument is valid that, you know, if Bitcoin's going to trade down again, the altcoins are going to absolutely put in another massive puke. So I might trade altcoins to the downside if that's the case. I see no argument for upside swings. Next conversation is going to be on how I plan to actively trade, which I wanted to mention this. So active trading for alts basically only amounts to swing shorts right now, or intraday shorts. Most of my active trading though is going to be just intraday trading Bitcoin. I've gotten into a little bit of a flow state. Hopefully you guys have seen that as well. Not that I haven't posted every single trade, unfortunately, but you guys have seen that I've been vibing out with the intraday stuff on Bitcoin recently. That's really the only thing that I think I really want to do actively from a trading standpoint. I'm at that point where I need to do my end of month review for last month, so I'll also be cooking that up. And I really think that right now is a good time to work on organization and workflow. So that's actually something that I'm going to be attacking. I'm going through and dealing with a lot of boring adult things that I need to do in my life. And I want to kind of come back and reassess my workflow. So maybe I have a video coming out on that here soon. Pretty short outlook from me. I didn't really have like a whole lot of major updates to be had. As far as I'm concerned, the TLDR on the market right now is you're patiently waiting for people to come back and, you know, participation rates in the market to come back. Right now, we're dealing with low liquidity kind of fart moves more or less, and participation's quite low. So we're patiently waiting for that to come. I feel very confident though, right? Q4 is right around the corner. Just like I've always said with Q1s and Q4s historically, right? Get ready for moves, right? As it stands, the market looks like it wants to go down. That can, as we stated though, one up candle can immediately change, you know, everybody's view on this asset from in a reflexive way, and all of a sudden one up candle starts, you know, an uptrend. So regardless of which way we're gonna go, Q4 is right around the corner. Be ready for active participation to come back and volatility to return, regardless of whether we're gonna move up or down. If, you know, gun to my head, I still think that we're gonna end up resolving upwards, just because it's the most like kind of ridiculous thing. I'm really hoping that over the next couple of weeks, you know, that we're really starting to crush people's hope with how the structure looks. That's where I'm at. I'm really hoping that we're going to get that sentiment shift and crush people's hope. Most likely though, what needs to happen is another drive down before that's going to really materialize in any way. I mean, ask yourself, what would happen if we sold off, you know, if we sold off again later this week, right? What would happen? I think that from a sentiment standpoint, people would just basically give up and be very, very confident that the bull run is over. And that's the exact kind of environment that we need in order to actually have a chance for prices to go up. So we want sentiment to get worse. It's pretty much at extremes, but it can always get a little bit worse than where it's at. So Anyways, that's it for me. Good luck out there this week. Cheers, gang.